Welcome to the Imperfect Dads podcast.
I'm Justin.
And I'm Devin.
We believe dads care deeply about their family and kids,
but they don't always have a space to discuss what their life looks like.
Our podcast is a space for dads to discuss the ups and downs of fatherhood.
And how they feel like they're holding it all together.
Or how they're not.
Thank you for joining us for this episode. On this episode, we have on Nate Feathers, who runs the Instagram account Dads Don't Babysit. We talk about how he used to work in roofing and how that led him to Nashville, being a dad to 6 kids, how he started Dads Don't Babysit, how dads are going above the social expectations of them, raising kids in a digital age, his oldest going off to college, and all the different personalities of his kids. And also just like one more thing.
Dad, just start the episode.
Oh, my bad.
You're in Nashville?
I am. Yeah, I'm in Nashville now. I was doing roofing at the time, and there was a storm in 2012 that brought me here. And I was kind of like the insurance guy up at my place in Columbus, and they had a sister company in Nashville. So I came down. I had started doing that a lot, and so they called us storm chasers, right? Yeah. But I had made so much money in Columbus doing that the year before in Dayton, when there was to a level where I was so blown away in Dayton about the size of the hail. Because I get out of the car at the first house and I was like, who aerates their yard that deep? Like, it was that big. I mean, we're talking like this big, right?
Softballs. Yeah.
It was huge. And I'm like, man, that's a big aerator. Why would they do that? And then I'm like, you dummy, that is the hail. And I looked, their whole house was obliterated, right?
That sucks.
I had made so much money there that I had taken 5 months off. But I don't know if you've ever done anything like that where you have a long time off, but I go stir crazy. I can't handle it. So to those dads who are stay-at-home dads, like, massive kudos that you're able to do that and that's your focus. Because I would go out of my mind. Like, I love my children and I want to be around them all the time, but I have to have something I'm doing. But anyway, so after 5 months, there was a hailstorm in Nashville on March 2nd, and I was at a theater. I was at a movie, and I'm like, I see it. It pops up on my screen. I had this hail tracker thing, and I call my boss. I'm like, please tell me we're doing this. And he's like, yeah, you want to go? And I'm like, I'm leaving Monday. That is like the thing. And then 5 months later, I moved here.
I had my Mazda 3 outside and it got obliterated by that hailstorm.
Yeah, it did. That was a bad one. Yeah. Actually, it was like at that point there was so much to do that they're like, just pick a spot on the map. And I live in Mount Juliet. I literally picked the place I live right now. I just was like, I'll go there. Yeah. I didn't know anything about it. I was like, I'll go there. And that's where I live.
Nice. Yeah, my first job out of college, I went to Belmont. Is how I ended up in Nashville.
Yeah.
So I worked at News Channel 5 and one as like a sales administrator. So people go and sell stuff. I would put it into a system, make sure everything's all good. And one of the women there, her husband did roofing. So he would do like, hey, by the way, I'm going to go spend a month in Knoxville. And I'd be like, why is your husband going to be a month in Knoxville? It was like, oh, this had an awful hailstorm and he's going to make like half of the year's income in 1 month of work. And I'm just like, I've never thought that could be, but also those people need help. And like the need is so great. You do need people from out of state to come in to help and make sure they do a good job.
Yeah, it's totally true. And it really is. I mean, I would feel like I was just printing money out the back of the truck. It was just like, it's crazy. But you're right. People, and what's really sad is there's so many people that come in and they'll steal the first check.
Yeah.
Like that's why, like, I tell people all the time, like, I don't do it anymore. I don't do roofing, but I'm like, I had this older lady, like it was like the quintessential old lady that got taken advantage of.
Yeah.
Like I came in, I'm like, your house is obliterated. Like, I don't know what happened or how you got missed. She's like, oh, I didn't get missed. The guy came in, said he would do it, took all my money and stole the first check. Like, she signed the check over to him.
Yeah.
And he took it and ran. And I'm like, all right, well, we're going to do something. So I went to the guys at the office and I'm like, this is what's going on. And we basically just like crammed it down into whatever she could get left, whichever she had left. I basically paid the guys to do it and covered it after that.
She was like, I have $100 in my check. And it was like, we'll make it work.
Yeah, it was so bad. Well, because there's this whole thing where they can take the first, like, you get the first check. It's like, here, go to Disney World. We don't care. Yeah. But if you don't do the roof, they won't ever cover another roof. Right. And so this lady, like, what happens is they give you the first part of it. And then once you finish it, you get what's called recoverable depreciation. And they they send you the other half. And the company started doing that because people used to take that first check and then not do anything with it. So they were trying to control that. And this poor lady got caught. So we were able to get her recoverable depreciation later. I called the company. I'm like, this is what happened. Can you help her out? And it helped us out because then we weren't like losing our shirt, which was great. But that happens too. And that's why you got to watch the out of towners. But you're right. When it happens like it did in Nashville, people have to come out of the woodwork because there's so much work to be done that the guys that live there can't handle it all.
Yeah. I used to, I'm actually a stay-at-home dad. So
Awesome.
The job I did before it was I worked at a dentist's office in Nashville, and like insurance and dental insurance, it can also be messy like that, where like if you use, I think Aflac was one of the companies where Aflac would send the patient the check, and then then the patient was supposed to give us the check to pay for it. So then, you'd have someone you're about to send them to collections and you're like, hey, like we called Aflac, like, oh, Aflac never sent me that check. And I'm like, and then we have to call Aflac, get on the phone with them. And Aflac is like, no, we sent the check. Here's where they cashed it. And we're like, hey, here's the detailed report of whenever this happened. Like we genuinely don't want to send you to collections. Can you please just pay your bill? And they're like, well, I don't have the money. And we're like, well, your insurance isn't going to give you any more.
Right.
I don't, needs are needs. I'm trying not to judge you. And I'm also trying to get us paid.
Yeah.
Dude, collections is so hard. I don't know, Nate, if you had to do that with like collections for the roofing, but I work for a landscape company. And we do about 500,000 a month just in maintenance side.
Yeah.
And we consistently have about $1 million in past dues at some point down the line. And I'm like, guys, we have apartments. Most apartments, if somebody didn't pay their rent, they would be kicked out within a couple of days. But yet they are $60,000 in the hole with us. And I'm like,
we'll keep
where's the
servicing
hypocrisy?
them. It'll be fine.
So insane. Yeah, actually, I will say that I kind of got treated really well there because the company I worked for was big enough that they had a department that handled that. In fact, my wife was in the office. She was the one that would call people that were past due. And so then I would, it's never good when you're with the woman who is dealing that because she's like, you have a whole list of people that haven't paid, do something, and I'm like, great. I'm sleeping with her and then I go to work and she tells me that what I have to deal with there too. So it's not like sleeping with the enemy at that point, but it feels like it at that point.
It's just a little bit, right? What, since you don't do roofing anymore, what do you do for a career now, Nate?
So I'm all over the board. I keep telling, have you guys ever seen, How I Met Your Mother?
Yeah,
the show. You know how Barney answers where he's like, please. I want it to be like that all the time. Like, I want that to be the answer. Right now, I'm in a small niche of real estate where we do land sales. So I work specifically for a developer. And what we do is we buy like 3,000 acre chunks and then parse it off and make a community that allows us to sell off bigger chunks for a personal, like for like homesteads and things like that. And then because we're not local to that area, then we come in one day and we'll like invite people in and we'll do appointments all day and do that. And so you'll sell $1 million worth of real estate or more in one day. And then you go back, you take phone calls and you set appointments for the next time you do it. So it basically most people can't buy 3,000 acres to have a farm or something that big, but they would love to have like 40, 20.
Yeah.
So we break it up like that. We put the streets in. We run the power and the fiber. And then from there, you can do whatever you want off of that. And so you can, like people build barn dominiums or they just put like a small tiny home on it or they do RVs, stuff like that. So
you take care of like utilities and like services to get out to the spaces too?
Yeah. See, that's the biggest thing that I've run into with this is that people will buy land and then get out there and they're like, oh, I got to buy an easement from my neighbor who has like, I got to run across his yard to get. And so what we do is we just cut streets in and build roads and then run the power right down the street. So you're not buying easements from somebody, I bought this 30 acres, but I can't use it because I can't get power to it.
No, I've had some friends where they've had like the easement and then they've had to buy it from their neighbor. And that whole negotiation process is like a potential tension. And then whenever it gets resolved, you can just look over your fence at the person who you just fought with for a year in court. And it's like,
you're walking by and they're giving the middle finger.
Like let's just avoid all this.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and most people don't realize that. They think,
of course
I just buy land, I got it. And when they get there, and then people want to buy it sight unseen, which I've had people on the phone from California. They're like, yeah, can I just buy it? And I'm like, are you crazy? You want to stand on this. You want to see this, right? Like we don't sell it that way. Because they need to stand on it. And there's no right of rescission when you buy land in Tennessee, right? Most states except for Tennessee, you buy it and you don't like it, too bad. That's how it works. Like they'll keep your money, whatever. So there's no cool off date or cool off time period. And so it's really a protection for them. You know what I mean? It's like, come out and stand on this, because how do you know? Like I can show you this side over here with my phone if you're on FaceTime. And then over here's this massive like valley that's totally worthless, but I didn't show you that. Again, I don't do that, and I wouldn't do that, but there are guys that would.
Wow.
And you know,
during like the mass exodus from California to like the Texas and Nashville area, I remember so many people saying, "Hey, I just sold my house to somebody from California that had never even seen it. Like they maybe saw pictures online, but never actually like paid with full cash as well." And you're like, "What in the world?"
Yeah,
it's
that's
nuts.
whenever I lived in Nashville, Justin and I used to be neighbors. We lived around the corner from each other. And like the people who bought the house next to ours did that, but they were born and raised in Nashville. So at least like in that scenario, and like you at least have an idea of the neighborhood and how things are and stuff. But like the amount of money it costs to purchase for a house, a down payment, even not even a loan, buying for it in full in cash. And the thought of being like, I'm pretty confident this is going to be return on investment. And I'm like, I feel bad spending like $30 sometimes on something, like, like it's not make it 300,000, you know?
Right. Yeah. Well, and I will say this, like if you're buying a house, at least you have a house, right?
Yeah.
If you're buying raw land and you're just trying to buy it sight unseen, that feels crazy to me. What are you going to like? You got to really know some stuff, and to not come out and stand on it to me is crazy. I'm just like, come out. Like that's all I do is I'm inviting people out to stand on property and say whether or not they want it. And a lot of times I'm like, look, if you don't like it, just tell me. It's first come, first serve. So if you say you want it, then I mean, I call it off and it's yours. We go write the paperwork up. But if you hate it, I didn't make it. Like that, yes, between you and God, I don't care.
So with these thousands of acres of land, like is it in Tennessee or is it kind of all over the nation?
Yeah, so our specific company works in Tennessee. Home office is based out of Knoxville. We have a Nashville office. And then right now, we're like southwest of Nashville. You guys ever heard of Hohenwald outside of Columbia?
No, I've heard of Columbia, but haven't heard that.
People are like, Hohenwald's called? I'm like, no, it feels like that, but it's not. No, Hohenwald it's actually German for high forest. So it's raised up a little bit on like a ridge. You got like rolling hills. I love it there because I feel like I can breathe and think, like I don't know, something when I connect with nature. That's where I find God. So I stand out there and feel like I can breathe and I love it. We're inviting people out there, but like normally when you're talking to people about land like this, it's like, and you're half hour from a Walmart or whatever, or an hour from Walmart. This one has one right in Hohenwald. So it's 10 minutes away. Nice. I'm like, this is perfect, easy. But I love it out there. Only reason I'm not buying it is because I have 6 children that are siphoning all the money out of my life.
6 children?
Okay,
man.
I think the most we've had on an episode is someone who has 5
like
kids.
5,
so I think
I win.
Yeah. So did you just go
or
to
do
Amazon?
you?
Yeah. Depends on your value system.
That's right.
Did you just go to like a church or youth group and say, what's your best condition van? I need one next week. Like, how did you 6 kids, man?
Yeah. Well,
what's their age range? What's all that?
So my bookends is what I call them is almost 21 and just turned 1. So it's a big span, right?
Yeah.
So I was married right out of college and we had 2 kids, divorced, remarried, 4 kids.
Okay. Yep.
So that's how I have 6 total. My wife keeps saying she thinks we have 1 more. She's like, it's either going to be an oopsie or we're going to plan it. I'm like, well, let's plan it so we have it
instead of me asking you every single month, like, so did you get your
PIN? Right.
Okay.
Well, and that's the thing. I'm 45, so it's like I can't have a 5-year window and then a whoopsie. I'll be 50. We're talking 70 by the time he's like really out on his own or she's out on her own. I mean, my plan is to live as long as possible, stay as healthy as possible. I talk about that a lot with dads where I'm like, you got to be healthy because that's your example. But it's also, I don't know if you guys have heard this, but everybody I talk to seems to really like being a grandparent even more than they did like being a parent. So I'm kind of looking forward to that. I want to live through a lot of that, so that's kind of where my head's at. But
yeah. Well, also like if you have another kid at 45, you're like, I'm like, if they have kids, I probably won't meet them. Like that's like, it's just how math works.
Yeah. I mean, they're saying we're going to be able to live longer, with like modern technology to be able to like get to 120, 150.
Yeah.
That'd be cool. As long as I don't look like I'm about to turn to dust,
Exactly.
or have to like roll around and be waiting. Like somebody has to take care of all of the essentials for me. As long as that's not the case, I'd love to live as long as possible. And being up there, man, I'd love to like hold and play with my great grandkids. I mean, that's kind of what started me on the journey of sharing my fatherhood life, is that I'm like, I want to be healthy, and I realized, oh my gosh, I'm the example. And then I was like, yeah, but how fun would it be to like play with multiple generations of my own children, grandchildren, great grandchildren? And it'd be fun to, I've said I would love to hold my great grandbaby.
Yeah.
And still be in a capacity to know who that is and play with them, and not be the guy that's just kind of sitting there. They're like, oh, that's great grandpa. He'll be gone any day now,
No, it's really funny. I'll turn 38 this year. Justin's 40. And like getting to the age now where like working out, being in shape or anything like that it's not for aesthetics. It's literally just like whenever my kid needs to be picked up, can I still pick up my kid? Right.
Yeah.
And it's all just straight functionalities. Most of my desire to be like in a healthy state.
Totally true. Yeah. I had my daughter, she's 4. So it's boy, girl, boy, girl, boy in my list of kiddos. And so my oldest daughter's 18, but my younger daughter's 4. And when she would not be, I mean, I question how long it was before her feet actually touched the floor, even when she was able to like stand and walk and all that.
Yeah.
And so,
crow baby.
I mean, exactly. I've never heard it like that, but that's exactly right. And so even doing that, I'm going, one day she won't ask me to do this.
Yeah.
Right. There's one day where I pick her up, and that's the last time she wants me to do that. And so I'm like, I'm just going to be as strong as I possibly can, so that I don't care if that's 11, 12, I don't care if it's 16. If she's like, hold me, Dad, I'm going to be like, sure. I'm going to do it. And I want to have the strength to do that. That's really what's like pushed me down that road as well.
Yes.
I had a conversation with my wife yesterday about that. I have a 5-month-old now. And whenever I get home from work, I usually am the one that is like either waiting for my wife to feed, and then I will put him down for a nap during the evening time. And yesterday I just wanted to hold him. That's all I did. The entire time that he was sleeping, I think it was like an hour or 2. I was just holding him, and I was like, with my daughter, who is going to be 4 this year, I was like, I felt like it went by so fast that I'm going to just try my best to soak up. And I was like, I know we're not supposed to be holding him when he's sleeping, because we need to get him to be able to sleep in his crib by himself. But damn it, I want to hold him. And she was like, hey, sometimes you got to.
Well, I will tell you, man, with the youngers, like I was that way. I was like, put them in their own crib, like keeping their own room. I mean, to a level where I feel I've had to apologize multiple times to my oldest. Like, dude, I totally did this horribly wrong. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
We had some psychologists tell us that we should lock the door
No,
at night when they're older, and not let them come in our room. It wasn't lock their door, but it was like lock our door.
Gotcha.
And not, right? Because you're like, oh, that seems wrong.
Okay.
So he's like,
interview over.
Yeah, right. He's like banging on the door. I remember this so vividly. He's banging on the door, asking to come in, and I'm like, no, buddy, go back to bed, because that's what somebody told us to do. And he's the oldest, so I didn't know any better. Yeah. And I look back at that, and I'm like, if anyone who hears this, don't do that, right? Like, and I'm a major proponent now where I'm like, yeah, I sleep with him. It doesn't matter. Like I have a shirt that says "Vote yes to co-sleeping." I don't care, man. My daughter slept on my chest for months at night. I would go to bed like in a chair, just like, here we are. Like she would be on me or on mama. So I'm like, just at some point they'll make that decision where they're on their own. And I mean, even to this day, our 4-year-old, she doesn't go to bed in our bed. Like usually she falls asleep with us. We put her in her bed. At some point she comes into the room and stays in our bed. And we also have the 1-year-old. So it's like, to touch my wife is to like just lean my foot out and touch her toe kind of thing. Like, I love you, just so you know I'm here. Yeah. But I've had a couple nights where she has not come in, like 2-3 nights in a row. And I've looked at my wife and been like, you think it's over? Sadly, not like, yay, oh my gosh, that's over. So I'm all for that, man. 5 months old, you're like the perfect dad. You get to sleep with them, like you fall asleep holding them. That's like dad work right there, right?
It is. Yeah. We do that too, where we always just leave our bedroom door open. We usually try to do we start them in their own beds, but with the understanding of like, oh, if you wake up in the middle of the night and you need something, like just come to our bedroom. Because I also know people who growing up, their parents would lock their door. They'd have to knock on the door. tell their parents why they were awake in the middle of the night. And then their parents almost like assessed if it was worth opening up the door for,
Yeah. Yeah. That doesn't do psychological things to your
yeah. And I'm
kid.
like, I'm already going to damage my kids in so many ways. This is an obvious one that I can eliminate. So let's just
It's true.
not do that at all.
As a kid, sneaking into my parents' bedroom and then like having to sneak into my parents' bed. My mom would not care if I came into the bed. My dad, he would be like, nope, go back to your room. So
Yeah.
I would sneak in and lay down and try to
You were
fall asleep.
strategic?
Yes, I was.
That's so
I
funny.
was.
I
And
get it.
I'm like, I don't for Ada, I'm like, if she wants to come in, she can, but she does not. She will scream out for me to come to her.
Oh man, yeah, just
There you go.
So
open the door, just get like, that's the thing. I don't understand how people kick their kids out of their bed in the middle of the night. Because if one of our kids also, if it's like 2 a.m. and they're coming into the bed because they're like, I'm scared of something, I'm like, yeah, just fall asleep in our bed. The thought of I don't have it in me to look at that kid and say, too bad, go back to your room, like, or any of that. I'm like, I don't.
You go deal with that monster in your closet.
Exactly. Put him. He's a pretty polite monster once you get to know him. Like. So how do you do? I don't know how you wake up in the middle of the night. Your kid is scared, and then you're like, okay, can you go back to your room though? I'm like, I don't. Just fall asleep in our bed. We bought a king size bed just for this exact reason.
Yeah. I will say that with the younger 4, that I don't. My bed's not big enough. So sometimes the older ones, the 8 and 9-year-old might come in, and I'm like, dude, if I put you in here, I have to leave. Like, I can let you stay in here, but I'm going to go sleep on the couch. Like, you're not sleeping with dad at that point. Yes. And so usually what I'll do is I'll like get them back into bed. I'll lay down, and then usually it's Wyatt. He's my 8-year-old, and he'll kind of be like, will you stay with me? And I'll stay with him for a little bit. And I may or may not wake up at that point and go back to bed. But I'm with you, man. It's like, just at some point they're not going to do that.
Correct.
And we'll miss it. So
yeah. I wish Ada would do that. But yeah, we still have a monitor for her because she has night terrors sometimes and then nightmares.
No. Yeah.
So she will scream at the top of her lungs sometimes, and it's like either about me or about her mom, and then she gets really upset. So we will rock her, or a lot of times she'll be like, will you lay down with me? So I'll lay down with her in her bed, and I absolutely love that part and hope that I can just have that for forever, but I know it's not going to, similar to like what you say. Is this going to be the last time?
Yeah. Our son actually, so we did have a camera. So I have a 9-year-old, 7-year-old, and a 3-year-old. And our son, it goes daughter, son. So youngest is the son.
Got it.
So we used to have a camera in his room, and we didn't have it up very high. We kind of had it like middle level. At some point in time, he realized what it was, and we would like put him to bed and stuff. He would get up, walk out, and just turn the camera in a different direction. And I was like, you know what? You're literally like, our room is here. Your room is here. I'm not going to miss anything. Like, and if I want to know you're doing, I'm just going to open the door. Yeah. But it was just hilarious to watch him like look, like sit up in bed, look at the camera, look around and see if we were still in the room or make sure, then walk over and just twist it all the way around. And I'm just like, I'm proud of you for having the ability to understand what this means, but also, can you not?
Totally true. I love that. It's funny.
So Nate, I mean, how we know who you are is because of your Instagram page, Dads Don't Babysit. I will say that phrase, Dads Don't Babysit, used to be my ability to tell if I was going to get along with a dad or not. Because if a dad would be like, I've got to go babysit my kids, I'd be like, ooh, I'm judging harsh right now.
Same.
Ooh,
yeah, totally.
I just lost a lot of respect for you. You might have said it jokingly. You might have been playful, but you used that word in front of me for being a dad. And I just, for some reason, that does not align with my core values.
Right. Yeah.
So tell us about your Instagram page, how you got started, all that good stuff.
Yeah. So it was either that or my kids cuss because I do. And that's just way too long. So
it's too wordy, but it's accurate.
Very accurate.
It's funny because I shared this with my dad a while back that was like, he didn't know anything about the Instagram. He's not on social media. And I told him how it had kind of grown and blown up. And he's like, that's interesting. He's like, I used to say that all the time, that dads aren't babysitters. We don't do that. But mine came from a guy and I were talking. We were good friends, and he had called me about something with business. And he's like, hey, he was like walking on it. He was on one of those walking treadmills with his computer and his phone or whatever. Yeah. And he had just had his first kid, his first son. And he's like, hey, if you hear like a little kid, it's the baby. I'm babysitting right now. And I'm like, oh yeah, no problem. And in my head, I'm like, dude, you need to know, like, obviously dads don't babysit. I have children. If they come rolling in here, they're going to climb up here and talk. They're just going to come into the screen. That's part of who I am. And And it's not like deal with it, but it is also like, that's how it works in my life. And so that's what's up. So, but it's kind of felt like it's been that way for a long time. And when he said that, I was like, oh yeah, that's cool. And I said, hey, before we go any further, you're not babysitting. Like, dads don't babysit. You're dadding. Let's just call it a verb.
Yeah,
I know there's a
make
guys
it a
out
verb.
there that's like dad verb.
Yeah.
And I think there's a dad verb podcast as well. But that's the whole point,
Cool?
is that like dadding is a thing. And whether you're with your kids or not with your kids, it doesn't change the fact that you are parenting. And I think it bothers me because it's our own cognitive assent to saying that we're second class parents. And I hate that. I'm like, oh wait, the amount of fatherless homes connected to the amount of teenage pregnancies, suicide, jail, all of that tells me that dads definitely don't babysit, because those percentages and statistics are insane for when fathers are in the house as opposed to when they are not in the house. And I think what's crazy is they now have stats that show and this is not a bash against moms by any means. It's just that, like, I'll finish that statement. Like, it's not a bash against moms by any means, but when it's a single dad or it's a father in the home, the stats are very similar. It's when there's no father in the house is when all of the stats skyrocket for teenage pregnancy, depression, suicide, for
drug
jail,
use.
people who go to jail, drug abuse. It's crazy. And it's guaranteed shown from the stats that it's as long as there's a male figure in the house, that's when that stuff is at a lower amount. And so, like, you've got every show on Disney, every TV show that we watch on at 8 o'clock, like prime time I'm old. So obviously we used to watch prime time, 8 o'clock shows.
Yeah.
Now it's like, just watch it whenever. But every comedy thing, it feels like everything is like dad is the comedic relief because he's the doofus, the idiot, he can't do anything. And we just buy it hook, line, and sinker. And then you also have the side of that where it's like, oh, well, I just work outside the home. And I mean, Devin, you don't. And that's a huge undertaking because there's a lot that goes with that. Like, I think from the side of what society says about what men are supposed to do.
Correct.
And I think that's hard on, and I would love to hear your thoughts on that, because it's hard on the psyche of a man to say, this is what I'm going to do, and then be still like considered second class. That's crazy to me, right?
Yeah. No, I think one thing that one of my biggest hopes of this podcast is I know every dad has a ton of thoughts and a ton of emotions about how they feel about their family, but do they always have the space to discuss it? And what you start to realize is that whatever ceiling you put on someone is what they live up to. So if a dad instinctually says, I'm babysitting my kids, I know what ceiling has been set for them.
Oh, yeah.
They've been told that if they're watching their kids, it's because they are monitoring them or something like that, as opposed to like, no, you're an active force and love in their life. And whenever you use the word babysit, if you are using the word babysitting for yourself, you're not diminishing the child, you're diminishing yourself. You're diminishing the role you actually play in your child's life. And like, you have all of your love that you can put here, go put it there, because your child wants it and your wife also wants it and your kid wants, like, stop. Don't use the word babysit, because you are closing so many doors for yourself the second you start using it.
Yeah, so much.
So I feel a little passionately about it too.
No, I could tell. And I love that, man. I love that because like everything you said is so true. And I keep coming back to all guys. It doesn't matter. Like at some point you're either going to, unless you've made the choice, you don't want to be a father and you're not going to have kids. But at some point that's part of what life is. And we're going to be fathers. And to accept that as like second class parenting, man, it just crushes me. And I'm like, are you kidding me? If I work out in my garage, my kids are out here. They want to be like dad. They're testing, the guys are testing their metal, right? My sons are constantly, like my wife, the youngest, he grabs my beard and pulls on it, right? And I'm like, yeah, go for it, buddy. He's not strong enough to like hurt me yet. And when he does, I'll be like, well, maybe we don't do that. But he'll grab my hair, and my wife is constantly like, gentle. I was like, no, this is where he tests that. I can help him understand not to do that to other people. But that's why your boys like bash up against you or hit you. Like, it's part of them learning. And I'm all for like the rough and tumble play. What I've noticed is that they love it. It's really good for them. But also my oldest will do it and they always get hurt. It's because he's not a dad yet. So he hasn't had that. There's some kind of switch that happens where I can have all four of them rolling around and I'm like, keep that one from hitting his head and watch her. Like you're just like moving around all while you're being attacked and hit or, you know. And
very familiar with it, yes.
Yeah, right. So there's so many things that our sons specifically are testing their mettle to where I'm like, yeah, you play a major role in how a boy feels about himself. And you play a huge role in how a girl like comes up and feels about herself, to where if you do it right, like boy, she's like, yeah, boys, you'll never meet dad yet. Like you're not going to meet his level. So she's like, he loves me so much. I don't have to worry about whether or not this boy likes me, because I have so much confidence.
Of course.
I don't know. There's so much from being a father that is missed when we just go, oh, well, I'm just babysitting, or I'm the second class parent, and I default to my wife.
Correct.
I hate it.
Yeah.
I hate it.
I'm just here to help the wife.
Yeah.
That's not the case.
No. Cause I'll say this cause you asked how I feel about like being a stay-at-home dad and stuff.
For sure.
I think I've been doing this since like January of 2019. So whenever our second turned 1, we tried to do both of us working full time, 2 kids in daycare, paying the second mortgage on daycare, all that stuff. And it was kind of like none of this isn't working or anything like that. I will say the biggest thing that I had to undergo or figure out for myself was I always thought a career in generating income was the best way to support my family. And you at some point in time have to look in the mirror and be like, so what is the best way to support your family? Because that's where, like, if you want to define like masculinity and stuff like that, like that's part of it to me. Is like, all right, here's what you told yourself would be the best way to support your family. Your wife is a lot better at career than you are and makes a lot more money than you do. So stop it. Like at this point in your life, just put a pause on that. So what then, how do you add value? How do you have your strength show up? And it's like, oh, it's by being home with the kids and doing all the home stuff. Cool.
Yeah.
That's how you succeed now. But I had to absolutely shift that mindset within myself to tell myself, you're going to be a good dad if you still do this. Because so much of culture, everything says you need to be the breadwinner, you need to be providing, you need to be doing all this. And sometimes it's just not in the cards. Sometimes it's just not the hand you're dealt.
Yeah.
Devin, did you have any trouble with that mind shift, or was it a pretty easy transition?
When we first had kids, it took us, whenever we had our first kid, we were like, oh, maybe you should stay home, but we still had student loan debt. And so we wanted to get our student loan. If I was going to not work, we didn't want to have student loan debt. Makes sense.
Yeah.
So we had decided that's what we would probably do. But then by the time we were like, oh, should we have a second kid? Then we bought a house, then we had a mortgage, then we had a second kid. So once the dust settled and we were able to predict our finances a little bit differently, that's whenever it's like, okay, we're stressed constantly by us both working full time. It seems like we can make this work on just one salary. Let's do that. But like, yeah, it definitely also there. And that was the constant in my head being like, wait, shouldn't I be able to make like double my salary? Shouldn't I be able to do this? Shouldn't I be able to do that? And it's like, well, you can't. Like, this version of yourself isn't. So
that's just reality. And
it's reality. And that's what I think parenting does, is it makes you just deal with reality so much. And you're just like, but I want to like create a fantasy. I want to like live in some weird world. And it's like, no, man, this is reality. Go take care of your kids.
Yeah. Nate, does your wife work? Do you have
I love that question because she does constantly, right? But,
in the house.
But she works at the house. Yeah, she's a stay-at-home mama. And it's, I mean, I tell her all the time I couldn't do what she does. So anybody who stays at home, you're on 24/7. But yeah, so she stays at home with the kiddos, and I kind of do the thing, whatever that is.
Yeah. And you run around, you make ends meet, you have fun, you have adventures, and then you come home and get climbed on by kids.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
And I mean, I've shared this. So if you've seen any of that on not TikTok, on Instagram, but I own a Christmas light business. And that started during the roofing company, because I already had the insurance and all that stuff. And it was like one of those things where it's like, oh, well, that'd be crazy if people would pay me for that. And people in Nashville are insane, it seems, because there's a lot of people that pay for that. And I'm not the only one. Yeah. I mean, my company does really well, and I'm really excited about that. Our plans are to like boost business again this year. And so there's a lot that happens inside of a very small window of the year that lets me just kind of like, whatever, that kind of thing. And so I love that. But it's crazy. People, I never would have believed it. I was like knocking doors, and I was in a neighborhood that said no soliciting. So I was like setting stuff on things. And if I get kicked out, if I get yelled at, I'll just run. And that's literally what happened. Someone was like, hey, you can't do that. And I was like, all right, thanks. See ya.
All right, thanks. Didn't know.
Yeah. Didn't know. See you later. Didn't see the
Can't read.
Yeah. So I got 3 that year, and we've grown it to over 150. I would say that I'm probably third largest in Nashville, third known. Like people know that they know this company, or at least it's shared. And I don't do any marketing at all. It's all word of mouth.
That's awesome.
And I love it. So it's kind of it's made me able to do the land sale thing and that kind of stuff. But yeah, it's very untraditional. So I get to be home a lot. except for during that time. That's kind of like
so
the
you're
kids.
out there in the field putting up the lights.
Yeah, so I held on to it until like that's why I said we're gonna boost business because I took it to where I couldn't do it anymore and like where I can't grow anymore with just me. And I mean, I walk everything. There's not a roof I won't try. And my oldest is going with me, and he's seen me standing there calculating, like, can I jump from this facet to that facet? And he's like, Dad, don't do it. Don't do it. And I'm like, oh, now you challenge, now I have to, like that kind of stuff. So there's not anything I won't walk, but I've found some ways around that to help guys that are willing, not afraid of heights, but willing to walk stuff that they'll be able to do what I do. And that allows me to obviously step back from doing the work and work on the business. And so that'll give me a little more freedom. But even in that time frame, because when it comes to Christmas lights, from my standpoint, my mother was real strict about how they were supposed to look. Like I don't even like doing colored lights because Mom was all white lights. And it's just like, oh, that's classic. I do it, but I'm like, oh, you really want to go colored lights? Like this is we should go white lights. They have to ask for them, I guess. But they do look pretty on a lot of houses. But I will say that they're like perfectly straight and things are done very, very well. And if they're not like that, then my name's on it and I can't have that. So as long as there's guys out there doing stuff, even if I'm not on the roof, I'll be out there. We're out there from dark to dark, basically getting them up.
Do you start putting up Christmas lights? Like, do you have a within yourself, like after Thanksgiving? Do you do after like Halloween? Like what's your actual season? Cause that
100 houses is a lot.
Yeah. Like when you start seeing Christmas lights, it used to be only after Thanksgiving. And now it's like, it's August. It's fine. We'll be festive.
I seriously start sending stuff out to talk to people in July. I just call it Christmas in July. So
Makes
like
sense.
I've done like Christmas cookies to my old clients and be like, hey, don't forget, like let's get on the schedule. October 4th, I put mine up this year. And what I do is you can put them up and then not turn them on, right? The trees, no one's going to know. They're just going to see them up. So I put mine up and leave them up, but I never turn them on. But on Halloween, my wife won't let me do this, but I want a big full-size Santa just holding the candy. And then just turn all the lights on and have Christmas out. And that's my Halloween. But when Halloween is done and we come in from the beggar's night, I flip all the lights on. And that's how I end Halloween.
Nice.
I started
tradition.
October 4th. And
October 4th.
I was putting lights up this year. Mine were up October 4th and I was doing lights October 5th. Brother.
Dude. That's awesome. I mean, it's the expansion of the Christmas season for decorations. You're benefiting from greatly. So.
Right. Yeah. And people want them. They're like, I want them up because they may not be big Halloween people or they're just like, well, November 1st, if I'm paying for them and it's not cheap, they're like, I want to get as much out of them as I can, which I totally get. I would rather put them all up in October and you just turn them on November 1st, but that doesn't always happen. But November 1st, people are clicking their lights and hitting them. So
being festive, all that good stuff.
That's right.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit with your Instagram account. You've got a pretty good sized following. What type of response do you normally get from dads? Like if dads reach out to you, like what are they reaching out to you about? Or like, how do you feel like you are interacting with dad community these days?
Yeah. So number one is a lot of guys will reach out and like say, I'm a new dad. Your content's really helping me. Thank you so much. Like I love that. Cause I'm like, hey, yeah, man, how can I help? And I'm all for it. I answer every message that's actually legit. And so if it's a guy reaching out saying, I don't know what I'm doing or what do you suggest on this? I'm all for that. And I love that. And that's number one. You do get the dads that, cause I'm anti-spanking. I used to be a spanking dad and I am so against it now that I'm like, we could probably be more creative. And so with that, I get a lot of dads that are like, that's total crap.
Okay.
Like, that you're the reason that we have snowflakes. And I'm like, well, come see my sons. They're not snowflakes, that kind of thing. And that's the thing is I'm like, well, when I talk about it, when you look at my Instagram, it says, it may not say it anymore actually, but I tend to say our own self-discipline disciplines our children, right? I'm not disciplining them. I'm teaching them to be self-disciplined. And they learn that by following me and watching me, right? So if I'm flying off the handle and dude, I suck at this a lot. So I try to say that as often as possible because when you talk about it on Instagram, they're like, oh, he's got it all made or he's got it all figured out. I do not. And my 9-year-old has hit the hormone level where he's starting to go into teenage mode. And I'm like, oh, I might front kick you right in the chest. Like that's the stuff that comes to mind. He said something about like he needed a shirt and then mama didn't wash it. And he's like, why didn't she wash it? And I was like, oh. Ooh,
gotta watch that tone, buddy.
I was like, hold on one second, because that's my wife. She might be your mom. That's awesome. Yeah, she's my wife, right? Like, so it's those dynamics do come together, and they can create a lot of waves at times. But I think that that's the thing is there are guys out there like, yeah, well, this is the problem is that people don't beat their kids anymore. And I'm like, are you hearing you?
Yeah.
Like,
you said that out loud to a stranger. Do you want to confirm this? Do you want to
Exactly.
confirm
Did
that?
you like getting beat from your dad?
Yeah. Child services are on their way, just so you know.
And that's the thing. They're like, oh, well, I got spanked and I'm fine. I'm like, cool.
Are you?
I'm glad you're fine, but are you really?
Yeah.
Think about the things you think about, like, what do you not say because you're afraid of certain things, or like, how do you interact with, like my parents, my dad specifically required like total obedience, and I'm like, like, let's take that and put that in the realm of like today, where I'm a grown adult. And now the government's requiring total obedience. And I'm not saying that that's what they are, but I want my children to be able to go, well, hey, you work for me. Like, you're the government that works for me. So you don't get to tell me what to do unless we have really good reasons for it. Well, in my house, they have the ability to say, why is this a rule? Why do I have to do this, right?
Yeah.
And if I don't have
The
a good
ability
reason,
to ask questions.
yeah. And if I don't have a good reason, then I either have to make one up, which I don't want to do, right? Or I just have to be like, wow, that's true. It's really just because it's annoying to me, and that's dumb, and dad needs to probably back that off. I think that
grow from that.
Exactly.
Grow from that.
Exactly. They're teaching me, but I'm also not creating just compliant drones that do whatever they're told. And unfortunately, I think that that's what happens when we require like total obedience. That's a problem.
Yeah, of course. No, if I speak my mind or whatever that I'm going to be punished, guess what I stop doing? And then how much personality is lost? How much of your own like viewpoints do you lose because you're so terrified of saying the wrong thing and the punishment that might come with it? You just stop talking.
Yeah. And think about, I don't know how many times you do this, but because of what I do, when I talk to guys that are older, their kids are out of the house. And this is really what happened for me. My oldest, I got the benefit of having a 21-year-old and a 1-year-old is that my oldest went to college. Dude, that destroyed me. Not because he left, but like I took him to college. He just went to Trevecca right here in Nashville. So he wasn't far, but far enough to be like gone. And I know when I was in college, my dad called me and said, hey, you have a mom, you should call her. Like, that was the kind of thing, because I got into doing life out at college and hanging with friends. And then I didn't call. I didn't go home.
Yeah.
I knew that would happen because that's what happens. And I thought, it's over. Like, he's not dead or anything like that. But this part of life, that whole 18 years that I got where he was always in the house, always like under my influence and able to ask questions, and right there, even if I didn't see him all day, I could be like, hey, it's dinner time, and face to face, that's all gone. And I sat there and I had this flashback of like all the crap that I put him through that I didn't need to put him through, like all the bad decisions I made and all the times I got angry. And I like started to cry. I was like, this is way more weight than my heart can bear because it's over. And that's what started me sharing, because I don't want dads to come to the end of their kid's life at home and feel that way, And I'm constantly having to fix that, even with my 8 and 9-year-old. Like, my wife will remind me, like, because I'll be mad or I'll be frustrated with whatever's going on, and she'll be like, don't return to the old Nate, right? But I talk to older guys, and like almost the number one thing is that they say is they're like, I wish I would have been kinder, or I wish I wasn't so strict. And I think that's a thing for dads. We're the structure and the skeleton of how things are supposed to be. And then mom has this ability to like dress that and flow around it. And our kids are flowing around it. But we hold a structure that this is how life works, right? And I think dads get too strict on that. And then older men regret it. And we see it because sons don't want to hang out with their dads.
Yeah. Some of the older dads that we've had on, like Phil and Mitch, one of the number one things that they had talked about is they wish they could have said sorry more often.
Apologizing at all. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've described it this way before. I forget what book I read it in, so it's not my thought. But for so much of your life with children, you have to teach in black and white, because it's safety or unsafety. You get harmed if you do this, you don't if you do. And at some point in time, you have to start teaching in gray, because that's where the world actually lives. And I think it's really interesting to update your relationship with your own children, because you are a figure, you are authority, you are all of this, but also they are their own. And the more walls you put up, the more no's you tell them. That's something they have to overcome to get to know you. Yes. And that balance, freaking difficult.
Yeah, it's murder. Yeah, it's murder. My oldest, so he moved out. He ended up, It's so funny because now, like, I never require. I was required to go to college. It was like that's the next thing you're going.
Yes,
and that's okay. I don't care. I went, got a degree, whatever. But now, I mean, you can do a podcast from a computer. You don't need a college degree to do this stuff. You can make
yeah,
money doing this. You can
yeah,
make money on your phone. My
yep,
whole entire business, both of them, are run from my phone. I don't need to be anywhere being told like, okay, you can go to the bathroom now, or you can go to lunch now,
mhm,
like the old school way of doing things. And so for me, college, I said to them, well, if you want to be a doctor, we should probably go to college, right?
Yeah.
yeah,
I'd really like you to know what you're doing. But if you don't, sales is like the top. Like if you can do sales, you can be one of the top earners in the world. So if you want to do that, there's no reason for college, right? So he got into it and he was doing it for music, and he kind of shifted and said, I think I want to do personal training. I will say this. I don't know if I ever shared this. In college, he realized he was feeling like depression and things like that. And a lot of that had to do with how he was raised, right? So I'm literally watching him fight through his own problems that I created, being the father that I was, right? So there's been lots of apologies and lots of stuff like that. But what he noticed is that when he started working out, he felt better. And I agree, like you get your health, you get physically mobile and you start doing things, you start like you have a harder time being depressed when you're working out, right?
mhm.
And so he's like, I think I want to be a personal trainer. I really want to help people. And I think this is a way. So he started into that. He doesn't need to go to college for that. So he stopped,
Really? Okay,
right?
yeah,
uh, and now he moved back into the house. Well, now it's like, hey man, I know I'm your dad, but I'm also like, you're a man. So do your man things and be a guy, but stop screwing up my house, right? Like, don't leave stuff for my wife to pick up because you're a grown man. You don't need
yeah,
picked
yeah,
up after that kind of stuff. But you're right. It changes the role so differently how I have to handle the 9 and 8 year old
hmm
and the 20-year old. And then remind the 20-year old, there's a 9 and 8 year old in here that you're speaking in front of.
Yeah.
Again, my kids cuss because I do, but stop
yeah,
cussing so
yeah,
much because they're going to
yeah,
do it
yeah, yeah.
more, right?
It's supposed to be meant as an apology, not as a justification.
Yeah, right. Exactly. So, yeah,
But no,
no,
that's
you're right.
That's cool though, because I'm sure you're more in the mode of like, because with an 8, 9-year-old, you have to tell them this is safe, this is not, because they don't know any better.
Uh-huh.
And for your 20-year-old, it's like, okay, I am an entrepreneur also. So if you want to get into an entrepreneurial mindset, like this workshop, tell me what you're thinking. I'll let you know from my experience what's failed, what hasn't. You still need to do all the work, but like we can have a full conversation about what your life can look like, and you can learn. How do I make sure you learn from my mistakes? And also, how do I communicate them so you actually listen?
Yeah.
This is a whole other
We were
thing.
vibing on some stuff he was thinking about, and I'm like,
Yeah.
we're going back and forth, and I'm like, I would have had so much more money right now if someone would have done this with me.
Yep.
Really
I'm
though,
so
yeah.
mad.
Yeah.
I think of that all the time. I'm like, I wish my parents would have talked to me more about this. I wouldn't have gone into the profession that I'm in.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Well, I mean, one of my favorite like series of memes for Nashville is like what I was doing in 2009 instead of buying real estate. And it's like someone standing at a show, like, just
Yeah.
being a kid basically. And it's like, if I would have just bought one house in 12 South, I would have made $1 million like 10 years later. Okay, got it. Good to know.
Yeah, right. It's so rough. But what I'm loving is he actually moved into the house because he's like, I need to be around that. He's like, Dad,
Mhm.
you and Meg, you think the way I'm thinking, and I need that. He's like, I don't have that. My friends are telling me, well, you're 20, like just chill out. And I'm like,
Yeah.
don't do that. Don't chill out.
Yeah.
Listen to these guys who are like even further than I am at a younger age and do what they're saying. And they're definitely not saying chill out and hang out. They're like, work. I'm like, put your head down. Don't get distracted. You're 20. If you spend 5 years working on you and your business, you could put your head up making a lot of money and still only be 25.
Yeah.
And then you could start, then you've worked on yourself to a level that the type of person you're going to attract into your life as a life partner is going to be at a higher level person. And that's what you want. And I'm like, you don't have anything to offer anybody right now. And that's not mean. That's just how
Yeah.
it is. So you'll take whatever you can get. And that's
Yeah.
that's down here, not up here.
Yeah. Yeah. What, you don't think you at 20 was the best version of yourself?
Oh my gosh. But people are like 2.0. I'm like 2.0. I'm about to be
Wow.
45.0. I'm like,
Yeah.
what are you talking about?
Yeah,
So-
I just finished listening to the Anxious Generation, and
Yeah.
I did it on audiobook, and it was a really great book. So if you haven't watched, I know Devin, you've read it.
check it out.
Listen or read it if you can. But they talked about the millennial generation and the Gen Z, like the guys were like hooked on video games. That was like their number one thing, Was that something that your son, who is 21, did, or did he have friends that were like that? I'm always
Yeah.
curious.
Yeah. So that was a thing. Like, so again, he was my first kid. So he went through the divorce like when we did. And that was one of the major things between him and his mom and I, is that there was nothing that he couldn't do over there. I mean,
Yeah.
to a level where there were times, and I'm sitting here going, we just got to get through. My wife literally is like, just hang on, because at some point he will realize that this is detrimental to him. But like, we gave him a 2-hour screen time, right? When he was in high school. And so he had a phone, but he knew that if he went over 2 hours, he didn't have it the next day. And when he started liking girls, man, he was so mad. He was so mad at us, and he hated coming here. I mean, he'll tell you, he'd be like, he's like, I hated dad. And I, all expletive, that kind of stuff. But his mom's, it was a free for all. Like, he had it all the time. And I will say this, I finally gave in. I finally said, fine, you can have it all the time. And his younger sister, who's 18, who was also part of that, has always had it. And I see the detriment, and I go back and go, I should not have let that be the case. I should not have let that be the case. And he played video games and he did all that. And it was one of those things where he even said when he left college, at first he went to his mom's and he said, Dad, if I stay there, I won't do what I want to do. Yeah. So if I can come live with you, I know that at least you're going to help me like do what I say I want to do. And he brought his computer, and I'm like, what about the video games? Because he can do them over there. And he's already started to like, I've got to stop doing video games. And he's cutting back and not doing that. He's noticed that himself. But I agree, man. I think that's part of the reason they don't want to do anything. I mean, at 16, I had to like force him to get his license. Yeah. And I don't know about you guys, but at 16, man, I was like, I was driving at 14. I stole my brother's car to drive somewhere when I was 14 with one of my friends in high school. It's like, what do you mean you don't want to drive? Get out of here.
Yeah. That was the cool thing in high school.
Yeah. I already had a job by the time I was 15, so I was tired of asking my parents or siblings to drive me to the jobs. I'm like, how do I get a driver's license so I can avoid so many conversations I don't want to have?
Absolutely. I mean, you listen to the music as loud as you want.
Yeah, exactly.
Whatever music you want. And it's like total freedom. My mom would be like, oh, no, we need milk. And I would be like, give me the money. I'm on the way. It's crazy. And I mean, even my daughter was the same way. You had to force them to do it. And they're not alone. Everybody I talk to that has kids that age, they're just like, I don't understand. They don't want to do it. And I think it comes down to the social media aspect. And I can't explain it, but I really feel like it comes back down to the connectedness they have. Like, I don't know about you guys, but if I didn't drive to my friend's house, we didn't hang out, right? So
but now it's FaceTime and Instagram and Facebook and just people calling each other or texting each other as opposed to actually face-to-face contact.
Well, his best friend is down near Atlanta. And they'll play video games. And I mean, they're just hanging out, talking, jamming, like whatever, they're shooting people on the screen or whatever, you know? And so they can hang out without actually having to be in the same room, whereas we couldn't do that. So I'm sure that that's part of it. But
it is. It's about where you find your community. And I completely understand it. Yeah. I used to, like, the neighborhood I grew up in, no one was the same age as me. So if I wanted to see someone, it was either because I worked or I was doing something at high school or I was at someone else's house. So like, but if I could have just FaceTimed someone and we played video games like next to each other, that's still, I don't know if I would have done it. I would have rather have gone to their house and played video games. Yeah. But I can, it makes more sense to me if I'm like, your community is online. So this is how you have community.
Yeah. And unfortunately, it makes them not want to interact. And I think this is in the anxious generation. It makes them not want to interact in real life. Yes. You know, like they have a hard time. I mean, even Zeke, when he would work for me doing the Christmas lights, I'd start pulling stuff out and I'm doing the ladders. I'm like, hey, go knock on the door and let them know we're here. You thought I asked him to do something that he just was completely impossible. Hey, go climb up on the house without the ladder. He's like,
go murder a puppy.
Yeah. You see that dog? Go skin it. Like, it's like, what? Just you're knocking and saying, I'm like, dude, I don't live in Tennessee. I don't want to get shot. Like, I'm not going to, go tell him that so I don't die. Thanks.
Yeah. But you should, I think the overall theme, Justin, since you just read it, of Anxious Generation is how do we be less worried about our kids like physically in person and more worried about who they become online, because for multiple reasons, there's a lot of ways you can hide who you are online and become something that you actually aren't at all. So how do you balancing that without also making your kid feeling like a social outcast because you don't let them have screens all the time is just something where I'm like, this is our parenting like challenge basically.
Yeah, it really is.
And in the book, they were talking about getting groups of parents that would do that.
Think like you, yes.
So then that child would not be like, I'm out of the social loop.
Yeah.
No, you have other friends that have the exact same responsibility as you.
Yep. Well, I mean, I've
But
even
it's
watched
hard.
yeah.
Bet that is I'm not in that because my kids aren't old enough yet. I have to imagine that's gotta be very difficult
I think
to get other parents on board.
it's just acknowledging and realizing that if there's a screen in a room, it'll dominate the room. If one person turns on one screen, similar, like if I'm in a room right now and you turn on a TV and you're like, hey, by the way, my wife is going to leave me, I'd be like, yeah, hey, did you see the score to this game over here? And it's like, dude, not we should be thinking about right now at all. Just turn off the screen, be here, be here, be here.
Yeah. Well, and it's crazy. So we have requirements and I felt crazy for that. Right. So my boys do a hybrid school. I'm a big fan of homeschool. And I mean, Matt Boudreau talks about Apogee, and I've talked to him a few times about that and talked to my wife about starting something like that. They go hybrid. So they go Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And then Tuesday and Friday, they're home for normal school with us. And so what happens there for that is when they're home, and this is on the weekends too, they are required to make their beds, brush their teeth, make sure the shoes are put away at the front door, the back door. I used to make them do 50 push-ups, which that was one that that another dad who is in a similar position said, oh yeah, we give them an hour of screen time, but they have to do these things first. And one of them, and I was like, I'm adding that. But now, like, so where I am is in my gym, and it's like my gym / garage. And so I outfitted my whole garage as a gym with homegrown lifting, and they love it. Man, they always wanted to go with me to the gym, but if I was going to CrossFit classes, they couldn't be part of the class. And so now they get up with me. Like literally, they're like, "Are you getting up at 4? Can we just get up with you and go work out?" And I'm like, that's insane. Let me work out and I'll wake you up around 6. But they'll get up at 6 and come in and do squats and all sorts of stuff with me. And they love it. So I don't make them do the 50 push-ups if they've worked out, right?
That's fair.
But yeah, 50 push-ups and and then they got to play a game of chess against each other.
Okay. Yeah.
And they're getting really good. Like the other day, Wyatt caught me looking and he ended up beating me. And I was like, oh, I gotta learn more. I gotta be better.
Yeah.
You can't beat me at 8 years old. I just got railed by an 8-year-old kid on chess. And I was like, oh, that's not good.
That is such a fun moment though, because like my 9-year-old daughter, if we go to like Cracker Barrel, will want to play checkers, and I can't take it easy on her as much. Now there's still some games where like I'm dominating, and I'm like, hey, do you want me to keep playing for real, or do you want me to ease off? And then we'll have that discussion because it's mean to just annihilate your child at a game.
That might be where I mean.
Yeah. So like in those moments, be like, hey, you only have like 3 pieces left. Do you want me to stop playing for real? And she's like, yes. And I'm like, okay, cool. Just so just so we know what's happening here. Yeah. But it is a fun moment. There've been a couple games where like she's actually like beaten me, and I'm like, oh, I didn't like. Just so you know, I'll make sure it's like just so you know, I actually didn't take it easy on you that time. I was actually playing for real. And she's like, oh, and I won. I'm like, yeah. And they do have that smile on their face of like, okay,
they accomplished something.
Feels good.
Yeah,
that's good. I love that.
Beating your old man.
So they have to do all that before screens. And the other day, this has been like an ongoing thing where I was like, they get 2 hours, and I feel like that's too much, to be honest.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things where that also gives their mother a chance to do other things and still like make dinner if I'm not home, and because she's still got the baby and all of that. So there's a push there where I'm like, I'd rather it be less than that, but I understand what we need it for, so we do that. But I've noticed that they don't listen as well, and they interact poorly as well. And so the other day I was like, that's it. We're done with screens. You still are required to do the chores you're required to do, but we're going to take a major break from screens. So they have not been on screens this whole week. And I don't know when that's going to end. Part of me is like 30 days. I'm thinking 30 days. I don't know if I can get my wife on board with that, but.
And how are they handling it?
They don't like it, but I will say that they were having some kind of interaction that was not good. Luna is my 4-year-old, Luna Gray, and Wyatt were banging heads. She didn't want him to play with her, and he wouldn't listen, so he was just taking over and doing something. So I made him come downstairs and stand. I needed him to stop for a minute and just pause. So I brought them both downstairs, had them stand against the wall and hold hands. They didn't have to do anything like squat against the wall or anything like that, but had them stand there, and I was like, don't talk, just sit here, hold hands. And I walked off, did some things, came back. And after that conversation, the interaction was fantastic.
Yeah.
And so I'm seeing a change already inside of a 4-day window, which is pretty impressive.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think that's a big element of parenting that like people don't talk about a ton, is like the moments where you detox, where it's like, okay, we're going to be a little bit more relaxed. We're going to be a little more relaxed, a little bit more relaxed. And then there's a moment where you're like, all right, we have to do a hard reset. Like this just doesn't work anymore. Let's do a hard reset and rethink what we're doing. And then like, maybe like in 20 days you ease off a little bit, but it is that moment of like, all right, we used it up too much, which is part of being human.
Yeah,
And
sure.
so don't feel bad, but like just not like, oh, this isn't the direction we want to go. We got to reset, guys. And we'll revisit like in a week or two and see how we're feeling.
Totally. But you do need parents that are like that around you, I think, because you're right. Not only will the kids feel crazy, we feel crazy. Like we talk about that all the time.
That too.
Like,
Yeah.
Alone because we don't want to do certain things. We don't want to live a normal life. And yet there's this draw that we have. Like, can we just be normal? Literally, this is a conversation my wife and I had this morning. She's like, I don't want to be normal. But then I hear what other normal people are doing. And I think to myself, I just want to be normal. And I have to come back to go, well, why? Why do I want to do that? Is it because it makes it easier? And that's every time. That's what I see is that I want to be normal because normal is easy. And that's not what I want for my kids. So I can't be an example of that,
There is an inherent assumption of acceptance that comes with being normal. And I think that is not true. And I think it's something that's very easy to believe. If I just did what everyone else was doing, I'd be more accepted, and that would lead to love. It still leads to loneliness. It still leads to questioning what you're doing.
Yeah.
So if I'm going to be lonely, at least do what I want to do. You know?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Like you guys follow Alex Hermosi?
I don't know. Who's that?
Right. So Alex Hermosi used to be in personal training. He's the guy that I literally told my son Zeke. I was like, look, you need to take like 12 hours a day for the next week and follow and just do everything. Listen to everything he says. Okay. Because he used to be in the same space and now he owns acquisition.com and they make about, they're in almost to the $1 billion level with what they're doing.
Okay.
So, really smart guy. He went to Vanderbilt and there's a lot of cool stuff about him, but he just did a short where he said the Queen of England died 30 months ago. He's like, she amassed more wealth than 99.9% of the entire world. She has all these countries that she put underneath her, that she ruled over all these people. And you probably haven't thought about her in the last 30 months until you saw this video. And he's like, the reason is because everybody's going to die. You're going to die and it's not going to matter. You might as well do what you want. He's like, all these people that you are trying to please, they're all going to die and their opinion is not going to matter. At the risk of sounding so dark, do what you want to do because no one that's going to say anything actually has any value towards that.
Yeah.
You might as well do what you want. And I'm like, I keep throwing that stuff at my kids. Like, yes, just like we're all going to die at some point. Just do your thing. Okay. I'm sorry. I said you're going to die, but
Daddy, what's death?
Yeah. My 4-year-old's like, I'm going to die now. And I'm like,
you're too young for all of us.
Yeah. Right. So, yeah.
It's a hard line to teach your kid of like, or it's difficult to not teach them of like, hey, people are going to have opinions on whatever you do. So know who you are is how I interpret that to my kids. It's like, everyone's going to have an opinion on whatever you do, me included. So know who you are and know why you're doing what you're doing.
Right.
And that usually will lead to confidence and hopefully living a life that I actually want to live.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's where coming back to being the dad we need to be for our kids is so huge. Being the dad that can stand there, like when your kid's having a freak out session in the grocery store and not being the guy that's like, that's it, we're going to the bathroom and taking care of this, but actually like getting into like you're giving them the confidence when you get down to their level and you give them the space and all of those, you're giving them the confidence to be able to know who they are. Because like you said, in the world that has all these opinions, you're going to have to know who you are so that you can do what it is you are brought here to do. Otherwise, you'll never do it because you're afraid of someone else's opinion across the world who all they have is a keyboard and a phone.
Yeah.
It's
and
insane.
they don't care about you. And that's just it.
Yeah.
So the people who have the strongest, in some scenarios, the people who have the strongest opinions about you don't even know you.
Yeah, it's true. And from Instagram, I can tell that my wife cannot go through conversations because she's my ride or die. Yeah. She stands at my back, like ready to shoot anybody coming from the backside. Right. And and that it's awesome to have that, but it's also, I'm like, these are keyboard warriors. Like if someone, and they're so few and far between that when they show up, it's like, somebody else will tell them to shut it up, Yeah,
pretty much.
So she's not allowed to really go through a lot of the Instagram posts I have because she'll go crazy. She'll be like, that's it. I'm flying over there. I'm going to beat them. And I'm like, no, don't do that.
I think RuPaul has a saying that is, if they ain't paying your bills, don't pay them no mind.
Right.
And that,
right.
Pops in my head.
So true. You just quoted RuPaul.
You don't have RuPaul quotes ready at all times. So, but it says with like the full sass and everything, which I will not emulate.
Come on now.
But it's just like, are they paying your bills? They part of your family? Why do they matter to you?
Yeah.
Why does it matter to you?
Yeah. I had to say that to Wyatt. I mean, he's number 4, but he's so close to Finley. Like they are a year and 6 days apart. And Finley's just old enough to be going through certain things ahead of him. Yeah. And honestly, I think it's hard at times because Finley will take out his frustrations on him, and he just wants to be wherever Finn is. But that means Finley's opinion matters really a lot. Mm-hmm. And there are times I've had to pull him aside and I'm like, you cannot base what you do on even how Finley feels about it, because Finley is not you. Finley has a whole other way of doing things. He's the competitive, not that Wyatt's not competitive, but Finley is like, when I show him how to squat, he squats correctly. Wyatt is flimsy noodle. And I'm like, oh my God, you're going to get hurt. Right? Yeah. Like, he's so good at like physical fitness and sports. Yeah. But Wyatt, it makes me tear up. This kid is so artistic. Like, all this stuff behind me and stuff my kids have done. Like,
well, that's really cool.
Yeah. Like,
okay,
so
that's awesome.
This is paintings that they've like put together for me, and I just put them up because I love that as my backdrop. Yeah. But, I mean, this kid will make something out of clay. The kid can draw like a freak. I'm like, dude, you can't base what you think and how you think on even Finley, because he doesn't think like you. Yeah. And if you shut everything down the moment the world says that they don't like what you're doing, you'll never do anything. And the truth is, you are here for a reason. I believe in the God of the universe. Mm-hmm. I believe that there's no accidents. I look at my 4 littles and say, everything in my life had to come to pass so that you could be here. Yeah. And as a result of that, you are supposed to be here. God put you with me so that you would become whatever it is you would become. And so be that. And don't be afraid of opinions of other people, because the moment you do that, you'll never do what God intends for you to do.
Yeah. Nate, how we end every episode is we ask every guest 5 questions. Yeah. And just before I pass off to Justin, thanks for your passion for fatherhood and for doing whatever you can to make dads be like, hey, I feel that too. You have a role here and you have a purpose here. How do I convince you to lean in? Because whenever you lean in, you're going to benefit your children, your wife, your community so much. So what's the key? What's the trick? What do I do to help you guys figure out that you matter? Because you do. And inherently, I just believe that for everyone I come in contact with also. It's like, hey, man, you're alive. You must matter because you're still here.
You're supposed to be.
You're supposed to be here. Yep. Anyway, sorry.
I love that. No,
hey,
it's so good.
Justin, whenever you're ready with the first question.
Yeah. All right, Nate. Did you have any backup names for your kids? All 6 of them, or just one in particular?
Well, my wife keeps the list. Like, she has a list of them. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. So she had, girl, what was it? Mabel Lane, I want to say, for a girl. Let's see. Zeke. So Ezekiel is from the Bible. It means God is strong and makes strong. And his middle name is Merrick, which is just a derivative of Mark that I thought was cooler. But it means warrior. And all of my kids have some kind of warrior name. But I wanted to call him Magner. Ezekiel Magner. But that's like so like strongman competition or something.
It was born with his arms.
Yeah, like he came out flexing. All the things. So that was one. It wasn't really a backup. It's the one I wanted, but I wasn't. I wasn't able to do that one. I can't think of all the other ones offhand. My mom died when I was 21, and her name is Beverly, and so we thought about putting that in somewhere. So we thought about Everly at one point. But we like the girls' names, like 2 names. So Luna's name is actually Luna Gray, and her middle name is Russell, which is after my grandfather. So like Everly Jane, stuff like that. Those are some of the ones we thought of.
That's awesome. Next question. I know we talked about TV dads in general. So this question is, do you have a favorite TV dad? While most of them are bumbling idiots, do you have a favorite TV dad?
Man, that's good. All right. So the first one that came to mind, and I'd have to really think about it. I'm totally blanking on his name now. No, Carl Winslow.
Carl Winslow,
yep. Family Matters.
Family Matters, yes.
Yeah. Because he was great to them, and he like kind of raised Steve Urkel too, right? He like dealt with him all the time. I liked him a lot.
Yeah, and he would cut through the bullshit too.
Yeah. I think that he was pre stupid dad too. You know what I mean? Like a lot of the stuff that he dealt with was stuff that he was like, oh my gosh, what's going on? Or something stupid that somebody did, and he had to deal with it, or he's getting hosed down with something. But none of it was him being an idiot. And so I think that's probably why.
He was dealing with stupid situations. He wasn't stupid.
Right. Yes. Exactly. Yeah.
He was dealing with Steve Urkel.
Yeah. And such a good heart. A good heart.
That's right.
All right. Next question. I know that you talked about cussing a lot in front of your kids and trying to stop that. So do you have a go-to replacement curse word?
No, it's still curse words.
Yeah. Fair enough.
That is a much more common answer than you realize.
Yeah.
My 4-year-old's like, Daddy, you can't say the F word. F word for everything. Even if I don't say the F word, you can't say the F word. And I know what she means, but I'm like, you're right. Daddy's gonna stop.
Yeah.
It's awesome. Next question. What do you have a favorite kids toy or activity, something that you really enjoy doing with your children?
Let's see. Actually, I love chess. I love that they're playing chess with me. I love that. As far as kids, like, I don't really do kid things. I bring them with me.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
They've like cooked with me. They do a lot of stuff with me. That's why they work out with me. So I just kind
the
of
chess is a great one.
Yeah.
I mean,
no, I love that one.
What got you into chess to begin with?
You know, it's interesting. I don't know when we got the chess board, and I used to play, but I'm pretty competitive in the sense of that I don't like to lose. So that's part of it. And learning strategy, I love that. We put the boys into chess club, and that really raised the time for them to first to play. But I guess I would say I love that. That's a lot of fun, especially once they get it. Mm-hmm. When it comes to my girls, with my 4-year-old, I will let her put makeup on me. I'm kind of the guy that's like, I'm very, very guy, but
nice,
let your daughter do makeup. And if she wants to play Barbies, let's play. Let's do it. It's kind of like whatever the typical dad stuff with his daughter.
No, but still, like, I mean, you've got some masculine characteristics, you know? And if you're looking at your daughter and you know what? And you're like, you know what? You want to put nail polish on me? Let's do this.
Yeah, she loves it. I mean, I do her hair almost every night when she takes a bath or whatever. I do a lot of the blow drying and all that. If we're doing mani-pedis, I'm not getting my fingers painted. Although I don't care. Like I don't care if she does. Is it Sean Whalen? You guys know who he is?
Don't know.
He used to be a fighter. Again, big time, like on YouTube and all that. But he's like, come on, guys. He's like, we're men. Like, look at us. Like, you can tell. Let your daughter paint her nails. And I'm like, yeah, totally.
I'm gonna look at your hands and be like, "Whoa, what's going on here?"
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
He has a full beard.
Well, it's like all the way up here, so we know I didn't do it, right? I wasn't trying on purpose to do it. Like that's a little kid who did that, so I like that. But
Awesome.
I take them with me on a lot of that stuff.
That's cool.
All right, last question. Best parenting advice that you have received?
That I've received?
Yeah.
My mother told me never lie to your children. She said that means that if you tell them you're going to spank them, you better spank them. If you're going to take something, you better take it. But it also means that if you forgot you said you'd get ice cream and they remind you at 10 o'clock at night, it looks like you're having ice cream at 10 o'clock at night.
Wow.
And I have had to do that and been like, can we do this a different time? But you said.
You're like, I did.
You're right. I did say.
Yep.
Or if mama says it and she's like, don't remind them. And then they come up, I'm like,
have to do it now.
Cream.
Yep.
Reminds me of the Bluey with the promises.
Yeah.
Episode.
Yes. It's good. Man, I love Bluey.
I know. It's so
That's
good.
when I can watch with the kids. I like that one.
Yep.
Same.
And cry. And
cry.
Totally.
Yeah. Totally.
That show strikes so many emotional chords I didn't anticipate. Like I watched the one where their neighbor comes over and wants to play in the dirt, but is trying to not get clean. And then the mom cuts off all of her hair as if like the parent is showing like, you know what? Get messy. And I'm going to get messy with you. And I'm like, why am I crying? Like, it's like 1 p.m. on a Tuesday.
Right?
Like,
I found myself crying at the one in the rain where she's playing in the rain trying to make the water move.
No words. No dialogue.
Words.
No dialogue.
She stands there and all of a sudden mom's feet show up and I'm like, oh.
Yeah. Well, it's because you've been the parent who's been like, what are you doing bringing all this rain in here? Like they're just trying to be playful, whimsical. And you're sitting there and being like, I have to clean this up. I have to clean this mess up later. Please stop.
Yeah.
And then you have to, hopefully you're able to stop and be like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Your kid wants to play in the rain.
Right?
Just go play in the rain with your kid.
That's like where Mr. Rogers said, just don't forget that most parents forget that they were kids. Right? That's the biggest problem with being a parent.
Yep.
I'm like, I suck at that. I constantly forget that I was a kid.
Yep.
And they're just doing the things that I wanted to do. My parents wouldn't let me do. So I'm going to change that generational move. I got to let them play in the rain and deal with the mess.
Yes. We had one guest on and it always sticks with me and I just think it's funny. You know how your kids jump from subject to subject to subject to subject and you get annoyed because you're like, why can't you just choose one thing? And then you think to yourself like, hey, how many hobbies have you had for a week? And you're like, oh, a lot. So wait, come on, man, loosen up. You're still doing it.
So true.
Nate, the last thing we have for you is just a moment for self-promotion. If we want to follow you, get to know you, connect with you, what's the best way to do that?
Instagram right now. I am sharing a little bit on TikTok and I am going to be moving a lot more to YouTube as well. I have considered and had conversations with guys about doing a podcast, but Instagram right now is the main place. And message me, guys, like seriously, if it's a question, if it's thoughts, if it's just, hey, thanks so much for this, or if it's just, hey, man, I don't care if it's memes. I got a couple guys, all they do is send me reels. And I mean, I'll be like dying laughing. She's like, who said that? I'm like, oh, this guy named Gene that like follows me, sends me like something every day.
Yeah.
But I love interacting, especially with guys, because I know that obviously Instagram is not a place that most guys are. Like, it's a lot of women. And so when guys have a space to have it, I want to be part of that for them. So
yeah,
that's where I'd say catch me.
And just to validate you as well, how you came on this podcast was, I think Justin has seen your face, an Instagram message. You're like, hey man, we do a dad podcast. Do you ever want to come on? And they're like, yeah, man, here's my email. Let's get this set up. So you do legitimately read through and respond whenever you get the time.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
I go to the
that.
hidden. Yeah, absolutely. I go to the hidden messages, and mostly it's total crap. But every once in a while you find somebody in there that's like, hey man, I'm struggling with this.
Yeah.
Or whatever. And I just want to help. So as much as I can, I do.
I just want to say thanks for taking the time to do a call with us. Thanks for wanting to encourage dads, and thanks for being part of this journey.
Thank you guys. Seriously, thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
thanks, Nate. We'll talk to you next time, okay?
Sounds good. We'll see you.
Thanks. Bye. Thank you for listening to the episode.
Make sure to follow us on Instagram at The Imperfect Dads Podcast.
And make sure to subscribe and rate us 5 stars wherever you listen to us.
The music is provided by the Wildfeathers.
And all episodes are produced and edited by me.
Make sure to tune in Mondays for new episodes.